stitches. So I'm going to show you how to make your bunting out of your little 6x6 squares. If you are doing a sort of a quilted block, you will have done your embroidery that way. So this is, you can miss this stage altogether. So because I've done it point to point, you need to turn it away from you and fold and meet your 2 points there. I'm going to pop a little pin in just to secure and hold it in position. Try not to put a crease down. So I'm just going to put a little crease there, finger press it there. I have got a little iron going, but I'm not going to do that. So you want to make a seam allowance of about 1 centimetre or 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so I'm going to mark it there. Oops. And mark it there. And then I'm going to come down and draw myself a line, because that is where I'm going to stitch along. I am going to use a sewing machine for these, because I've got 12. I mean, you can hand sew them. If you're going to hand sew, do a back stitch rather than a running stitch. But I'm going to machine stitch all of these. Obviously, that's entirely up to you what you do. I'm just going to pop another one in there just to secure it, so I'm not going off on a slant. So I'll just show you again what I did. So I'm going to fold point to point and pop a little pin in. Okay, I'm going to make sure that my edges are meeting. I'm just going to finger press that bit there. I'm going to get my rule. I'm doing a centimetre because here in the UK we tend to use centimetres and millimetres, but I know you guys in the US use inches. So 3/4 of an inch or 1 centimetre is your seam allowance. I like to draw a line. You don't have to draw a line if you've got one of those guides on your sewing machine. Feel free to use that. This is if you haven't. I haven't. I've got the little lines, but I tend to go off on a tangent if I don't use a marker. So I'm just going to pin that one for security. Because if you don't pin, what you find will happen is sometimes your fabric gets pushed, and so they're not level. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stitch all of these down. I won't show you that process. I'm assuming that you can either hand stitch in a running stitch, back stitch, or you can use a sewing machine. So once I've done that bit, I'll come back and I'll show you what to do next. Hello, so I stitched up all the little pennants for the bunting. And what I'm going to do now is, because we want to turn these the other way around, when you get to this point here, if you turn it around while leaving this on, it's going to be quite bulky and you're not going to have a nice clean point. So what I like to do is snip as close as I can to where I've stitched. Okay, and then I'm just going to get my pinking shears and I'm just going to cut a little bit more off up that, just because it gives that little point less bulk of fabric. Here comes Gertrude wanting to get involved. So then I'm going to turn it out so your seam is down the middle. It looks like a kite. I'm just going to move those out of the way, and then I'm going to press the seam allowance because I'll want that flat. Okay, don't press these sides if you can help it. If you've got a bigger iron, don't worry about it, because when we've turned it out, it will press out again. So now we're going to to turn them the right way round. I'm just going to get rid of that. And to do this, obviously, you're just going to push your point out. I went on a course recently and a lady showed me that if you use a flat-headed screwdriver in the points, it's so much easier. But I was worried that I'm going to rip the fabric, but it doesn't. So you want the seam down the centre of the back, okay, so it looks a little bit like a kite. I'm then going to tuck that flap up and in, okay, so we've then made a triangle. I know, genius. I'm just going to give it a little press. Not very mad. I'll just do it down that bit. Okay. So you're going to go along and do that with all 12 of your pennants for your bunting. Okay, what I didn't mention previously in my opening videos is that you are going to need something to hang your bunting from. This can be vintage ribbon if you've got plenty of that, which I have loads. A bit of lace, vintage lace would be nice. Okay, that's really pretty. Again, some more vintage ribbon. Actually, this is not vintage, I don't know where this has come from. Okay. A bit more ribbon. You can use this. I wanted to use this, but I've not got enough, which is like a bias tape that's been already folded, and then it's got a little picot on it, so you can tuck it in and hide your seam at the top, which is perfect really. I mean, I'm making a meal of this, but yeah, so you're hiding both seams there. But I didn't have enough, and that was a shame because that's really, it's got points out here on, so I've not got enough of it. But hey ho, you could use a plain bias and put it over the top. You can also use a woven tape if you've got any of this. I use this loads because it's dirt cheap and it comes in great big rolls. Use it for loads of stuff, and it comes in all sorts of sizes as well. But I had enough of this one, which is the bias with the picot on it. And I couldn't for the life of me tell you where I got it, but that's what I'm going to use. So I'm going to pin them in along there, and it's up to you how you I'm looking for one that I've already done. I did do this one, but I've not pressed it. How you space them out. You can either do them next to each other, or you can leave a gap. If you're leaving a gap, make sure you've got some kind of measurement to hand when you're on your sewing machine. Okay, but I will show you the steps that I do on the sewing machine if I can work out how to get the camera there. Okay, so I'll be back. So I thought I'd just come back and talk about the spacings. I've started my bias and left about 6 inches or 15 centimetres gap, and then I've left a little space, but what I did use, I used the little template, and I've used it upside down. So I've sort of gone in around there. Now there'll be people out there that don't need pin, don't need to clip, but I do, because I'm just not confident on a sewing machine that I would be able to get them dead on, and it would bother me. So I'm just tucking them all in. If you haven't got any of these magic clips, by the way, worth investing in some. They are wonderful. And I'm just checking that it's covered both back and front. If you're using ribbon, obviously it's only going to cover the front, but if you are using a ribbon or a lace, if you've got a crisscross on your sewing machine, you probably want to use that, because that way it'll cover up this raw edge. But that's entirely up to you. So I'm going to go in and I'm just popping. I'm opening up my bias, and I'm using a clip, and I'm going down the other end. Let's just get rid of that excess thread. This linen's quite frayy, it frays quite quickly, so that's a minus side to linen. And I am popping a peg clip in the middle, because I know that it won't be covered if I don't. Okay, so I'm just going to pop these last two on, and I'll come back and I will show you how I'm machining them up. Okay, so I've set my machine up and I've just tucked in my bias, and I'm just going to give it a little kick start. I'm going backwards and forwards, and I'm just going to go quite slowly, as close as I can to the edge of the bias. I'm not too worried about if I'm straight. And when I get to the gap, I'm going to keep on going. Okay. Just make sure that your bias, your little pendant is right tucked right into the top of the bias. Hold it tight. Literally keep going. So I've sewn everything together, stitched everything together. I'm going to go along and check the backs and just check, see there I've missed a bit. I'll just stitch over that again. Just another one. I've just tiny missed a bit there, but I'm not worried. I might even just go in and hand sew that down rather than go over again with the machine. But yeah, that's it. We are finished. Here you can either put a little loop on or a D-ring to hook it, make it easy to hook, or you can just leave it. Okay, so I will do some little pictures, and yeah, we're finished. Happy Christmas.